Okay, so that's that. Close this shite. Notepad. Figure out vector between player movement and camera. Okay. So what I wanted is return a dot product of these values. I want to see what this is. Print string. Okay. Minus okay, let's say let's get dot. Velocity X. I need to normalize this value. 2. No, because plus is 0. It doesn't make sense. Why do you return me 707? Why? Scalar, okay. Um, well, it doesn't fucking work then, does it? But that's because this is x, this is y, and this is x. This is y, and this is... It doesn't fucking work now, does it? Input vector x, oh, and that's y, okay. So my input axis is flipped. Okay. Okay, XY, and now move type A. Oh, that's wrong. Wait, what? I'm confused. Why are you giving me Y value? X is X, Y is Y. Now X here is, this is flipped. X to X, Y to Y. Possibly here. No, just input vector. Plus it's IA that's messed up. And what? Does UI navigate? how this works. Yes. Let me just write that commit name. So basically what I'm working on is remaking a movement system, since I figured that the movement that I initially had didn't really support the gameplay's feeling I imagined. So I had some thinking and I realized that, well, actually no, I'm gonna give credit where it's due. I asked fucking AI for ways to approach my concerns and it gave me some ideas and I picked one that actually makes sense. But I'm basically switching my movement into a bunch of different states. So it's going to have a different behavior based on direction player wants to go. I had decent issues with getting that to work, but now I finally managed to get a value that basically means if you're going straight, the value will be 1. If you're going backwards, the value will be negative, and then horizontal means 0. What that will allow me to do is it will let me trigger a different move set based on what player wants to do, and it will also allow me to, balance it relatively easily. It's just that I spent yesterday breaking my brain over how do I actually make this function, because I just couldn't get the value to work right. In the end, it turned out it was like my input axes were flipped, which made that I would never get correct dot product because my x-axis for movement was y-axis because of how I approached it initially, which is, my mistake, but it came from another set of problems. So I had to change that, and then I realized like I've made my whole movement system with wrong axis in mind, so I had to change some parts of this, and now finally it seems to be working as supposed to. So if you see in the debug in the top left, it has like dot product. So if you're going straight, it will give you dot product as 1. If you're trying to go right, it will give, for a moment it's going to switch to like 0. So like the idea is, if you're coasting straight, I want to have a relatively floaty movement, right? Because like I want to have this feeling of like the character doesn't want to turn, like the character you have to like respect the character, so like drift around the corner, pick the correct paths. A bit how you would do with a racing game, right? You have to pick the perfect line. In my opinion, that's actually really interesting. But at the same time, because I'm operating with the character, I want player to be able to do this, like do the sharp corner. Like if they mess up, or if I want to design map around like some tight corridors, I want to be able to do that. So I need to have a way to implement function that will allow me to stop player on a whim. Just like if you were to run straight, you would kind of like jump and then break and then go straight in the right side. So this is sort of the effect I wanted to recreate. But that required me to actually be able to read the inputs in relation to the camera position and player momentum, velocity. I mean, it's not that much extra work. It will also allow me to do something like, if player wants to turn, I will be able to literally like have a character play animation, like, like a proper jump animation where she twists in the midair with like a smoke and then starts running back on like really rapidly, rather than having this, slow down and then go back. Like it's going to allow me to do a lot of different nice behavior, so that if you just kind of keep running forward, you're going to have a slow stopping speed, but then you'll be able to commit to like a proper hard stop or like proper very sharp turn if that's what you want to do. And that also allow me to make, I think, more interesting level designs, which I'm also absolutely fucking ass at, but by the end of the day, one step at a time. That's kind of how we have to go approach that. Anybody home? Knock knock. So it's been fun, but yeah, yesterday my brain just gave up. I was looking at this blueprint and my brain was just like, the the white noise, like white static noise. Okay, that's a movement release. I also learned to replace event tick with timer by event, so that's good. Yeah, so like the whole idea is like I want to be able on movement to have a bunch of states. So like the whole idea is if you're going straight, dot product is above one, like is going to be around 1. Thing is, I don't need to have this normalized, I think. Because inputs by default are 1 to 0. I should not have deleted my strings before I debug that. That's one thing I want to check. Okay, yeah, that's an issue. It's going to give me, it's returning me positive product. So that's not what I want. Or actually, yeah, the issue is, okay, this is the problem on the computer. On controller that would not be a problem because controller cannot give you. No, actually, I think it still can. Because now I'm having a return, I'm having a vector length. So, okay, yeah, it needs to be a normalized value. So that I get a correct vector length from input. Yeah, I was talking about my wife the other day that like, they never taught me this at school. There was a lot of like equations, fractions, things like that. But I don't remember doing fucking dot products. So this is actually effectively having me learn maths. Okay, so if your dot product is bigger than 0.5, you're going the same direction. If true, true. But now I wish they did, Okay, so if the dot product is more than minus 0.5, which basically means if character is not directly stopping, but also not going straight, we have a sharp turn. Otherwise, we're going to opposite direction. And this should run as a sequence into custom event. And we should call that move on. And we can call this here, call move on. Now I can set this create this into a function, make this into a function. all of this into a function. And we're going to call this set movement mode. Nice part is this will probably allow me to do some more things in the future if I want to, so there's that. Okay, so then we're going to do this. On release button, I will be checking post timer. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, on release, it will set these values to 0. And then in coasting, now this is where the cool stuff happens. I love this. So basically what I'm doing here, right, is okay, this is actually kind of pointless. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. I could just have this as a. There's no real point for me calling this function if it's just if it's only going to switch between these. But like the whole point is that this is updating enum. This is updating enum. That later sets my movement mode. That later based on that enum triggers correct movement behavior. Yeah, there isn't point for me to have this. Yeah, I can imagine that. I wonder if I could. I mean, to be honest, I do run like 4K display as well, so it's like 1080p but on 4K display. But I don't think you can. Oh wait, you can, because I genuinely would like to set scale a bit higher. Because you know what, I think I'm getting gold. This should be. This feels nicer. Although honestly, like 4K is making stuff font already quite tiny. It's like, tiny. Now this is taking so much space though. I don't like that. It's a bit too big. Yeah, here. Now we're cooking. Now we can see everything. But now like 15% bigger is nice. I feel like the perfect resolution was like 1440p 27 inches, Because then everything was like nicely scaled. It was still compact and sharp, but the scale was nice. Once you go to like 4K, things gets tiny. Like I can't. I despise using Maya. Like Maya on 4K was. I struggle. I'll be honest with you. I struggle. And my eyesight is not that. It's not bad, you know. Like I don't wear glasses and I'm still fine. It's not 20/20, but it's like on shorter side. It's okay. I don't struggle. Uh, then we want to say FN. We'll just call movement. Yeah, honestly, it's like it's a silly thing, but you know, it does increase comfort. And if you're gonna spend like hours doing this, it does make a difference. Okay, so I don't want to set these variables on every single frame. Hmm. Like I don't want to set this movement speed and color this stuff on every single frame of take on input. That feels vastly unnecessary. I want to only set the values the first time that input is triggered. What would be a good way to do it? Yeah, exactly. Like basically, what I want to do is like if you're on the same, if you keep going in same direction, once it's triggered once, I want to set the value to that value and not change them unless you start coasting or like start going opposite direction or start doing sharp turn. I only want to do change them once, so I don't do it on every single tick because there's no point. Because I decide to not have things like dynamic. I don't want to have like dispatch it. Huh. You know what I could do? I could have a function here and I could check if last tick movement mode. I could check if this value is equal. No, because dispatching is more if I was to do it globally. What I'm gonna do is I'm just going to have a branch inside of this call movement where it will just check on each tick if the last if on the last frame that the movement type was still the same. That's a very cheap operation that I can afford doing in the runtime. And why? Oh, is has to be equal in okay, you're going to set this. Oh, it cannot start empty. Oh, basically I'm going to create branch. So basically if this value and this value is not equal, wait, uh, if these values are not equal, it means one is different to the other. I'm just going to update movement on last tick to this value. Basically, it's a simple tick. It's a simple check. So if these two values are not same, they technically, I have to figure out it in my head. If last tick movement is not the same, I don't want, if they're not same, I want to update this, and also I want to call, yeah, you're probably right with the dispatching. Reset movement. No. Yeah, basically. So basically, it's going to just set me this value, like if this value is correct. Now, this, Now the issue is I don't really want to do reset A, B, C, D, because that's annoying. Oh, that's interesting idea. But then I still have to unset them. That's a problem. But listen, maybe I could. The issue with do once is that it's basically a. I need to have some sort of trigger for it. Like every single one would need to have its own trigger, and that's ends up looking really messy really quickly. Dispatcher's not really gonna cut it because I have to bind all of them, and there's no point because it all will file contain within the same one. I mean, given that I'm only going to call this on movement change, I could maybe make it work, you know? I could maybe just make a call all these events and just reset all of the movement states. Not one, just run all of them, reset the reset box. So basically, if the movement mode with triggering is different to the movement mode on last tick, Uh, okay, I first want to reset this value, then call it. That's another benefit of doing it in here. Doing it in here is actually better because I get to reset these events before they get triggered. So if movement mode is different, I want to set the movement mode to the new. I want to set the last tick movement to new movement mode. And I want to just call reset same direction. Find the function. There's something I'm curious about. Bind event to reset movement mode. That's dispatcher. Timer on. Set timer by function name. Well, I don't think that's really a good way. Because I could technically run timer. Technically, I could just do that. And here I will just call reset all these. Reset coasting. Look, to be honest, there's a better way I could maybe do it. I could have it if I could have a timer at the end of each movement input so that it will just break the timer. But then again, that was more work. I think doing it in here makes more sense. Because by the end of the day, I actually do want to set it before I call direction. Because if I ask for reset, well, although that does reset on release. But I think that's just calling for function like these boxes to open. I think that's not particularly heavy operation. Okay, now what I want to do is I will need to get the values. Friction, get friction, no get, no get, ground friction. Because I will need to be able to set this in runtime. The jolly times, the jolly fucking times. Uh, I'm going to set ground friction. Breaking friction. That max acceleration. That max walk speed. What other functions I forgot about? Other variables I should. Oh, friction factor. That breaking friction factor. Now I would like this to be editable from character. Which means I should probably categorize it. Okay. That movement properties. Now, Nice thing is that this will get updated each time we call it. Like each time the movement mode changes, on the first tick, really, it will update all these values. Actually, I would like to create a short delay between movement modes. That does it every tick. That's fine, because I need to be able to trigger it on every single tick. That's fine. I'm making my life difficult, to be honest with you. I'm just making my life difficult. We're going to call this what I'm thinking about is if play would go like AD, 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 I don't really like when character just jogs between animations, but I don't think it's something I have to worry about now. I think it's something I can look into later. Anyway, be right back. Thank you. I have some thoughts in here that will allow me to do some cool stuff, because one thing I was struggling with earlier is like if player was coasting, it would have the same movement friction as when they were running, which made me unable to give player ability to change direction, but not be able to also stop very quick. You see what I mean? It's like I want to be able to let you, like, if you're inputting directions, I want player to be able to like navigate without having too much heaviness, but I also want it to be like, so you can't just read this button and stop instantly. I want braking to be like active decision to a degree. Oh, let's try. Let's set ground friction to like 0.6, braking friction to. Well, braking friction not relevant because this is not one we're not gonna be braking. It's never going to be a released input. Max acceleration. What do we have as max acceleration now? I have no idea. But it feels good. So we should have an idea. I think it's going to be in the move type A. Speed ratio, get float volume, acceleration multiplier. 10,000! That's a lot of acceleration. But since this is okay, I'm just going to nick it. Why wouldn't I just nick my own code? Okay, I have too many tabs open. Okay, we are taking on move type A this, and then we need to move pawn. Now, hopefully, I should be able to move using move type B. Almost. What's the problem? Oh. Wait, no, that's. Let's see, we set movement mode to. No, that's based on if it's coasting. Let's see, which movement mode do we have? Or do we trigger? It's going to be quite crucial. None. That's a good sign, actually. As crazy as it sounds. Okay. Why are you not triggering this? What is this? Right. So I'm checking if I'm moving, and checking if I'm moving makes me unable to move. So that happened. What am I doing here? I don't need to check this, do I? I think I started to do something else and I forgot. That is unnecessary. This is important. This is... I mean, that would be fine if I had OR. If this is not 0, oh, that's speed. Good question. Why am I checking this? Why am I checking this? Oh, OR is because I need to be able to move, but B is so that I don't process movement when it doesn't have to be processed. Okay. So that means if you're greater than 0, then it's moving, right? Yep. Okay. Because it's 0. Hmm. That's a bit of an issue. Because when dot product is going to be 0 on the first input until I start moving. Yeah, so I need to first... Okay. I could have an OR in here. Or... speed equals 0, which means I'm static. So if I'm static, I can only move in the same direction, can't I? Why? Oh, that's why. Okay, that's same direction movement. Now the question is, are you triggering this? Yes. Yes, you are. It's possible that acceleration is 0, so let's get this in here. Oh. Yep. Take care, mate. Enjoy your weekend. Oh, because it says max walk speed to 0. Let's see, I don't want to do this. Start move in. Are we triggering move pawn? Yes. That sounds like the problem is. What's the problem here? Why do you not move? I'm going to say problem is here. Oh. I need to look at the speed ratio somewhere. This works. Does only trigger once. Oh, that's why. Quite perplexed as to why. Okay, I think what I don't like is this. Character is like Trying to have gate. Let's open. Then I want to on sharp turn close gate timer. Set timer by event. You know what? I'm also gonna call it for now. I need to think and get some house chores done. I got some stuff working. Just chipping it away, and eventually it will become a system. I'll be